Well, thank you for having me. um, it's a, indeed a deep honor to be in this group and be asked to give my ideas. My name is Anup. I I don't know how each one of you got into the dairy market. I got into the dairy market because I married my wife, who is the daughter of a sixth generation dairy farmer here in Vermont. So that's how I got into dairy. I spent 10 years in energy markets, and then I moved to agricultural markets. So the way we've been trained to think about risk management in a supply chain is in terms of risk and uncertainty. So what I mean by that is when we set up a business, any business, what we are providing our customers is certainty. And the theme that I've heard throughout this entire presentation has been one of quality certainty, of assurance that you will not fall sick when you consume the product. In fact, you will feel good about consuming the product. So really what we are selling to our customers is certainty. What we as a business do is our ingredient into our businesses is uncertainty. When we are taking in raw materials, I don't think we have a good idea of what this raw material may turn out to be. There is a lot of uncertainty in our supply chain. Simple things like, will trucks be available? Will there be power? Will the capacity work? Will the labor show up? Many such things. COVID, think about the pandemic as a piece of uncertainty in this equation. So what we as a business are doing is exchanging uncertainty for certainty. And what the customers pay us in return is a premium for the product that we sell them. Now, each of you represent brands in the audience. I'm sure there are many people from various brands. And the way we think about brands here is brands is actually credit risk. So in other words, I will not fall sick. And if I fall sick, the brand will take care of me because I consumed your product. So really, we are paying a premium for certainty. Now, as a business, we have a lot of uncertain factors that we deal with. And there are certain factors that we have the skill to manage and have the capacity to manage. And those are skills that we want to keep in our business and originate those types of risks. And the risks or uncertainty factors that we don't have the skill to manage, or is cheaper for us to syndicate or give this transfer to somebody else to manage, we should do that. And that's broadly how we think in terms of risk management. So identify the uncertainty that the business is set up to manage. Identify uncertainty that you don't have the skills to manage. We'll take a very quick example. We're all in the dairy business. So now let's say we are contracting to get a logistics or a transportation supply agreement with we are contracting with to get shipping services, and the trucker says, I'll make sure 6 trucks are available every week, but you have to pay for diesel. So the diesel price goes from 100 rupees to 200 rupees, your charges will double. Now, I'm a dairy person. I have no idea what the diesel price, and I'm inheriting the risk of managing diesel. Now, if you know how to manage the price of diesel, very good. That's an uncertainty you should keep. But if you are not certain about managing the price of diesel, you tell the supplier, can you please manage this price of diesel? Now, the supplier might come back to you and say, well, if I have to fix you the diesel price, instead of 100 rupees, I have to charge you 150 rupees. So that's what I mean by what uncertainty do you want to keep in your business and what uncertainty do you want to pass over. So the second part in risk management is understanding what is individually the department or the person, what is your mandate? Is your mandate to play offense or your mandate to play defense? And the way we think about that is, if I'm selling a product, so I go around the country and I create demand and I go forward sell whatever product I'm selling, so I'm getting certainty of demand. Now that's a risk that the business has been set up to take. Right? Each business is a speculative venture. The entire life is about speculation, and speculation is good because speculation is how we earn a living. Speculation is how we make money, and there is no reward without risk. So there's good risks. So creating the product that your business was set up to do, going and marketing and selling it, that's playing offense. You are fiercely competitive with your customers, with your competitors. There are other people in the business whose job is to play defense, take the uncertainty out that we do not know how to manage. So, first part is understanding what our individual roles and responsibilities are. Is our job to play offense? Is our job to play defense? The second part then is what is the instruments within our business that are available for us to play offense or play defense? So here are four broad instruments. Volume flexibility. Can I sell you more when I have more? Can I sell you less when I have less? Location flexibility. I told you I would deliver the product in Bombay. Can I deliver the product to you somewhere nearby? Timing flexibility. Can I deliver the product to you slightly later? Can I deliver the product to you slightly earlier? Specification flexibility. So these are at a broad level four interesting, undervalued, underutilized instruments of managing risk inside a business. Now, where do we get these instruments? Well, we get these instruments from our relationships, customers and suppliers. I will share with you that in the last 9 to 10 months, in the pandemic, the least used instrument was flexibility. Everybody was looking at other places to manage this risk, whereas most of this risk, the best place to manage it was within your customers and suppliers. Now, the challenge of sourcing these four instruments is that these four instruments are so embedded in our day-to-day business and day-to-day transaction and day-to-day management that we actually fail to think about these four instruments as instruments for managing risk. So that's one thing we need to learn how to do is when we negotiate contracts, when we negotiate agreements, is we negotiate these, we consciously negotiate these four instruments. The second part is each of these instruments comes with a premium. So in other words, if I'm giving my customer volume flexibility that my customer can lift, in our case here, if my customer can lift anywhere from, let's say the contract is for 3 million pounds a month, and the contract, basically the customer says, well, can I have £500,000 flexibility? In other words, can I buy as much as 3.5 million pounds, and can I lift as little as 2.5 million pounds? That flexibility that you're providing the customer, we need to charge a premium for it. Now, similarly, if we have to exercise flexibility, meaning I have slightly less, can I sell you less? We might have to discount our services a bit. So the second part, first is negotiating for this flexibility. The second part is assigning a premium or a cost to this flexibility. Because once we assign a premium and a cost, then negotiating this flexibility makes it becomes a sustainable practice. Now, in addition to this flexibility, then there are additional instruments to manage risk in the business. Insurance, which is a more linear, defined instrument. You pay a premium to an insurance company or anybody who's going to provide you insurance, and what you get in return is certainty. And there are other instruments which I would bucket them as assurance. So derivatives markets, derivatives products, structured products that you will go buy not from an insurance company, but from a bank or a market provider. We'll put them in the bucket of assurance products. But as you can see, the way the hierarchy we've laid out is instruments inside the business that you can negotiate from customers and suppliers, and then additional instruments where you would go to people who are not in part of your value chain, but support your value chain to source additional instruments that help manage the risk in the business. All right, so the last part in this equation then is what role does your business and senior management play in this? Well, the first part is that the senior management, A, needs to agree with your mandate. Are you playing offense? Are you playing defense? I'll give another example of offense and defense. It's a slightly interesting concept to wrap our heads around. I used to manage a pretty large butter plant and 4 cheese plants in Vermont. And in our butter business, what took me time to negotiate with everybody within my business was Are we making money by selling branded butter 40 cents above wholesale? Or do I need to speculate on the wholesale price for us to make our budget? Meaning, if we are selling 10 million pounds of butter times 50 cents, is my business plan $5 million? Or do I have to speculate on the butter commodity to make 10 cents because the premium we are charging is not 50 cents, we're charging only 40 cents? In other words, I have to now play offense with managing my inventory. Another way to think about this is, as marketers, your job is to sell the product higher than the cost of goods sold or the inventory value. So your defense line is the value of the inventory. Now you can go and take risks anything above that as long as you don't kill the value of inventory. As purchasers, our job is to make sure that we're not buying raw materials above the make cost or the budget. So that's a way to think about offense and defense. Now, the senior management needs to agree with this mandate that my job is to play offense or my job is to play defense, or collectively, here are the roles that we need to play. Now, the second part that we need to get the senior management bought in is these instruments. And what does it mean to have these instruments in the contracts? Do the customers and the suppliers also understand these instruments of flexibility? So that sounds trivial. It is very difficult. It takes us years to get a uniform understanding of these flexibility and how this flexibility is exercised. So what we are saying is that we need to get buy-in from management for the use of these flexibility in our regular day-to-day contracts and agreements and utilize that. And what the management then gives us is tolerances or risk limits. Because a business is about managing flex and adapting to how the business is changing, as long as we're charging a premium for providing the flexibility to the market and we are paying a discount when we don't receive flexibility in return. So this picture, if this management process needs to exist to be a good foundation for setting up risk management in the business. And lastly, what makes a business sustainable is the ending equity to be higher than the beginning equity. Any activity that impairs equity impairs sustainability of the business. Any activity that increases the equity increases sustainability to the business. So in closing, what I would say is that I think the short ideas that I just discussed, I think everybody in the audience, everybody in every business, especially in India, you probably do it. I learned my skills of relationships because I am Indian. I grew up in India. I've lived here for the last 25 years. But so we are very good at managing relationships. So I think everything we discussed, you probably already do. What you may perhaps not do is consciously consider these instruments as risk management instruments and relationships as instruments to manage risk. So I would ask you, if you don't do it, please take a moment and consciously start to look for those instruments and understand how you can weave flexibility, relationships, flex in that relationship, charging a premium for flexibility, and creating a discount when flexibility is not available from your suppliers as instruments of risk management. Thank you.